Christy, right here on the right.
Couldn't hear you, Christy.
How valuable was last week for your team to be able to rest, recharge, kind of evaluate where you're at?
It was a good situation for us. I thought our guys approached it in the right way. You know, we've had a plan this whole year, a little bit different than what we've done without going into it. But I thought our guys were at a point where they needed it. It came at the right time. We were able to really get through the 2 weeks prior, going to South Carolina without 4 of our best players and winning, and then kind of limping through and beating Tennessee, not at 100%. So, you know, that came at the right time for us, and we were able to utilize it and get back to work this week.
To the right, Gabe.
I'm not asking you to talk about injuries, but just how do you feel about the overall health standpoint? Just overall. I'm not asking you to get into anything specific, but how do you feel going in there?
Good. I feel good.
Down front, Brent. Down front, Brent.
That was kind of asking about injuries. So he tried to sneak it around the back door, but I feel good.
You know, Deshaun has played well without Miles.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it help to have both those guys? And also specifically about Miles, you know, what he's meant to this program overall in his time here?
Well, you know, I've said, Brent, from starting last year at Arizona State, when Miles got big enough, I mean, when Deshaun was actually big enough at 250 and, you know, for the first time and having a first year in his life that he was was in the weight room consistently. Because he's a basketball guy. He was a 2 or 3 sport guy in high school. He had shoulder problems early. We got those fixed. And then, you know, before last season was the first time he was ever able to be in the weight room for a full year, and it showed. And like I said, a year ago, the best thing that happened to Myles Garrett was Deshaun Hall after Arizona State. You know, when the protection slid, double teams, Deshaun was able to put himself on the map in a national televised, you know, top 25 game and get 3 or 4 sacks that game. So, you know, people started to recognize, hey, we might have to block both these guys, and it gave him some confidence going forward after that, and really changed the protection schemes with Miles and him. So he's commanding some respect, and I think he was able to gather confidence from those experiences last year. And when Miles went down, obviously we were able to move him around and play some left side and do some different things with him, stand him up. So he's, you know, we're getting our what we didn't get the first 2 years because he wasn't ready to go physically. We're getting our money's worth out of him now, and he's loving it. I think he's playing as well as anybody on this team. He's improved against the run. I think that's the biggest thing that those 2 guys have done has been to increase their strength, understand the game, and become every down players instead of third down players. And they've always been good pass rushers, but you know, people are trying them at the point of attack, and they've been a lot better than they have been in the past.
And then Brent was a follow-up what Miles has meant.
Yeah, just Miles.
I think they work together. I think, you know, Miles is one of the premier players in the United States. You know, there's no doubt about that. You know, I've waited a long time to say it, but he's a different guy. You know, you look at him last week, 2 weeks ago. First play he's in there, it's disruptive, you know, and then he was just going to play on third down, and when he did, he created a turnover. It's a tackle for loss, and then in the overtime, he wouldn't come out of the game. And I think that's what says more about Myles Garrett than anything else. You know, he gets hurt at Arkansas. Obviously, it was a pretty significant injury, and then went back in the game and finished. He wanted to finish the game. And, you know, we left those guys here. I know there was some criticism for that, but because of the type of injuries we had, you know, South Carolina is the furthest in conference travel that we have. So you're 2.5 hour flight there, you know, 2.5 hour flight back late, and then 3 hours of them standing around. You know, that's 8 hours of doing nothing to get better in those injuries, and our players understood it, our guys understood it. They wanted to be there, but the best thing for them to do was eliminate some of that air pressure and standing around. and give them a chance to get healthy if they were going to play the next week. And and the majority of those guys did, except for Ricky. But that helped Miles, and for him to go back in the game, and then with that injury and play and be effective, and then come into a game where he was, admittedly, he said, 65, 70%. And then look at me on the sideline and overtime, and say, no, I'm playing. He played the whole both double overtime. It was important to him to win the game with his teammates. And to me, as great a talent as he is, with everything he's got at stake, professionally down the road, I think that shows our team what kind of teammate he is, and where this team is right now with the guys that are high-profile players that are doing everything possible to win games and be great teammates. And you don't have to say a lot to do that. You're saying it with what you're doing, and that's the way this team has approached this year.
Second row, Kirk, and then down front, Sam.
Kevin, what would you say is the benefit of having a quarterback who's beaten Alabama, not just thought about it? And what does that do for your confidence that's level going into Alabama?
I don't know. I had one that beat him. We didn't beat him the next time. So, if there's very few of them out there who have, number one, and that always helps. But I know everybody tries to make a storyline out of everything, and let's make the storyline this year. It has nothing to do with 14. It has nothing to do with us winning, us getting blown out, us playing close games. Well, the storyline is about two teams in 2016 that are top 10 teams and are playing to try to win the West. And that's where we are. The question was, did we watch the game? I still haven't watched that game. I don't know that, it'd be, as I said last time, it's like me watching the 2012 game, unless I just want to be happy about something, right? I mean, the schemes are different. Nobody's playing. Hardly anybody on the field is playing. The offense and defense, different coordinators. I mean, it's just different. So, I don't know if you watch them this year, that's plenty for me to watch. They're a talented football team that's well coached, that schematically is different than they were. And, it's just a completely different set of circumstances. So, for us, Trevor has had a year where he has gotten better every week. I think we've gotten to know him a little bit more. Certainly, being on the field is one thing, but it's a completely different game.
Down front, Sam.
Kevin, how is the speed and athleticism of Alabama's defensive line this season compared to the past few Alabama teams you've seen?
They're last year I thought they benefited from, I couldn't even keep up with the number of guys that were in the game. The 7, 8, 9 guys rolling through the deal. And, unfortunately, I don't know, I don't know what they do over there, because I thought they were all going to be first-round picks, but they stayed. And I was hoping that half of them would leave, but half of them stayed and are playing at a high level. And they do a great job. I think Nick has done a fabulous job of not only recruiting, but the development piece of what they're looking for in their guys, and the educational piece. I can remember being at an SEC meeting and him really being concerned about the educational piece of where players are in the draft process. And I learned a lot from that. And I think it's helped us here with being able to talk to guys about where they are realistically in the draft and the ability in college football to play yourself into a higher draft spot. And because of collective bargaining, that's become important with guys. So they've done a great job with that. Their front is ridiculous, is the best way I can put it. There's as good as there is in football, but the thing that makes them different is the rotation of those guys. And they just keep coming, and like you said, over the course of the last couple of years, you didn't think they would, they would fall off a little bit up front, but they haven't at all.
Second row, Ben, and then we'll stay on the second row, Suzanne.
Coach, how does this Alabama offense under Lane Kiffin differ from other offenses that Saban's had in the past?
Well, he's had this one, and Lane is, as I said before, people just now picked up on it. It changed a year ago. Didn't change this year. It changed when Lane got there, and all you got to do is watch the game last week and see what a difference in backfield sets, shotgun, not really a fullback, H-back type mentality, and Jalen has done a great job this year. And somebody asked me 5 weeks ago. I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I've known his dad, and I've known him for a long time. And Jalen is a guy that I was going to say kid, but he's not a kid anymore. He's a young man that very few things get to him. His demeanor has always been really solid. He's an exceptional athlete. He's very, very smart. His dad's a coach, and his dad's been hard on him as a coach before, and so it's not nothing new to him, and playing in the big time. So he has been, for a lot of people, a pleasant surprise, but to me, I'm not really surprised because he's surrounded with a lot of really, really good players. But he's also been able to operate, their system from quarterback read to RPOs to being able to put it down and take off. He's been able to operate in that system. He's been operating well. Lane's done a great job of putting him in positions, I think, for him to be successful. A lot like Noel that has done here. So it's you look at the numbers, it's kind of scary. Just the quarterback numbers through these games, it's almost identical. And a lot of concepts being run offensively and defensively in this game are very, very similar.
And that's kind of why I was asking, do you think it's interesting that Saban is now a little more receptive to using, kind of the system that Lane uses as opposed to what
I think
he did
you guys
before?
are late to the game. I think this has been going on for 3 years. So, that's what's happened. I think the ability to score points is at a premium in college football. Playing defense is paramount, but there's going to come a time where you got to score some points to win a game. There are no more ties, and so that I think. I'm not speaking for Coach Saban. I mean but obviously there's been a change, and they've been able to put up some points, more points than they've put up maybe in a while. But it's also about skill set of your players, and what they're doing offensively. I think fits their quarterback as well as anything that they could do.
Second row, Suzanne.
Kevin, I know you're aware of their non-offensive touchdowns that they're scoring. They've already set a school record, and it's only halfway through the season. Is there like a good explanation on how they're so good at it? Is the pressure they get from their line? Do the DBs gamble and jump routes? I mean, what have you seen on film that makes them so good?
Keep going. You just went through them.
Okay, if I left anything out?
The only thing you were missing was really good players, too.
Well, that's a given, yeah. But I mean,
So the three you said, just go through it. They got good pressure up front. The back end, the whole gamut of guys. You got to remember Minka Fitzpatrick, these guys run around back there. He's a 10'5", 300-meter guy, electronic. So, when they get their hands on the ball, and a lot of them were two-way players in high school, and they're frustrated that they're just playing defense, and they're going to let the world know that they could play. They do a great job, and it's organized. It's not luck. They're drilled, they're strip drills, they're intercepting drills, and then all of a sudden you see them line up just like we do. We consider ourselves one of the great return teams in the country, and it's organized. Once they get their hands on it, they set up the wall, and guys are sprinting to go block people, and it's an organized situation. It's like anything else. Once you have some success, it becomes contagious, and guys work at it, and they take pride in it, and it's a combination of all those things. It's not just one thing, but it certainly isn't luck. So it's you know, you don't do that without all the things that you just described.
And then last year, I mean, was that the weirdest thing you'd seen, that they got you all for 3 pick sixes? I mean, have you ever
Never
gone
been
through
involved
something?
in that. Hopefully, I never will again.
Time for a couple more. Right next, Olin, then Gabe.
Kevin, obviously because of their success and everything, Alabama, I think there's probably a certain mystique that comes with them. So, do you have a concern at all about guys starting to press in a game like that? And what would you say to keep them calm or whatever, to keep them from getting overwhelmed just by the enormity of what's at stake?
The what?
Enormity, the high stakes of the game.
Well, let's just start here. There was high stakes the first game of the year, right? And then I sat here 2 weeks ago, and wait. I sat here 2 weeks ago, and everybody said this is the biggest game in Kyle Field in a long time, right? It was a game that basically people said we had to win against Tennessee. So, every week that we play, it becomes a big game. This team has done a great job, not a good job, a great job of blocking out noise and going about it and trying to be one game better. And, we haven't played our best football yet. So, there comes a time where maybe, you go into situations and you just play. And that's where we are right now. We've been doing that every week this year. And I think our guys are in a good place. We're healthy. Got a chance to watch some football last week, getting our guys back, and based on what I see at practice, I'm not real concerned about whatever it is you were talking about enormity. Enormity is not a football word, so I don't even know what that means.
It's a great big game.
Okay.
All right, we'll go to the right, Gabe, and then to the back.
Coach, what was your reaction to being a 17-point dog, and does that make it pretty easy to motivate this week?
We haven't been motivated by that all year. Somebody asked me, he said, well, nobody gives you a chance. I said, well, I guess it's a good thing nobody's playing.
To the back.
Coach, wondering, you said you didn't know what you would learn from the Tennessee-Alabama game last week. Maybe it would be a nice comparison of talent. Just curious what you got out of that game, if anything, watching Alabama play the way they did against Tennessee.
Well, since Tennessee had less guys play against Alabama than they had in our game, it became even more challenging. Alabama just played great. I mean, that was as fine a performance as there is. There's nothing you can take away from that performance at Tennessee. It was dominant. They get 36 yards rushing and 100 and some yards. I mean, it was a dominant performance by Alabama from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, and that's where it is. So I don't know what you can take from it. What we got to do is go over there and play, and what we've done so far has been good enough to win every game. And all I said was, and as I've said in these situations before, we don't have to be the best team this year. We just got to be the best team on Saturday. I used to say for 3.5 hours, but after Tennessee, that was 5 hours. So, but that's it. And it's nothing more than that. And so whatever that is, that's what we've been working on for the last week.
All right, Coach.